Okay, Jake, so your career speaks for itself in terms of being a rider, and you're a rider coach and a lot of that, but one thing people may not realize is you have a personal connection to Ducati. Tell us about what your involvement with Ducati is.
Yeah, so my connection with Ducati goes back quite a ways now. It goes all the way back to 2017, I guess, is when those conversations started. And it was just an interesting conversation. I had raced a Ducati back in 2012 in what was then the Daytona Sport Bike Series Championship in 848. And after I stopped racing in 2014, I did a couple things, little one-off events here and there. And so that's when Roland Sands was getting his Super Hooligan Series started, and it was in the dirt originally before they went to the asphalt. And so I actually raced a Ducati Scrambler in a couple events there up at the Buffalo Chip up in Sturgis. Won one year. Second year I was behind Joe Kopp and fell off on the last lap, which I didn't know it was the last lap. But anyways, it was just one of those things where over time things naturally just kind of came together between Ducati and myself. And when they introduced the brand new V4 platform in 2018, it presented a great opportunity for me to jump on the bikes there because I was doing a lot of coaching on the side and personal coaching, one-on-one coaching. And so I was fortunate enough Ducati jumped on board, and they were supplying me a bike, and every year I've gotten a new V4 through that program. And so I've probably logged more miles on a racetrack on a V4 than anybody in the US because of the fact that every year I get a new bike, and I get to sample all of the bikes that Ducati has.
Did any of that have any influence on you talking to Cameron, who is your client? You're a manager, a talent manager. The fact that you know the brand and you know how he rides better than anybody, did you think, hey, I think you'd do well on this bike? Did that come across at all?
A little bit. I mean, obviously I've spent a lot of time on the V4 and the V4 platform, and I know Cam's riding style very well, and I felt like it would be a good fit, for him. But even going away from that, I've talked to Bobby Scheck for the last, since Cam came back from Moto2. Every year we have a conversation about Cam and getting him on the Warhorse HSBK team, and it's one of those conversations that, we've wanted to make happen for a long time from their side and our side, but timing and different things, just it wasn't the right time or fit. But, this year, this off season, that's kind of, things changed a little bit, and I feel like the timing was just right in Cam's career for him and also for them, and that they were looking to make a change. And so it worked out to where now was the perfect timing for everybody to come together.
What is it about Cameron Beaubier? I didn't tell him this, and I should have, but I'm going to say this to you. I had a team owner, and I'm not going to say who it is, tell me, oh, well, he's going to win every race this year on that bike. People think the bike's easy to ride. Cameron's obviously smooth. What do you think about what you know everything about Cameron's riding style and how you expect him to be on this bike. Tell us technically or whatever you want to do about that.
Yeah, I've heard people in my ear saying the same things, right? Saying, oh, well, the championship's already over, Cam's going to win every race, blah, 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 blah. But that's why we race, right? We really don't know. And is Ducati an amazing motorcycle? Absolutely. Is Cameron Beaubier an amazing superbike rider? Absolutely. And the hope is that you put those two things together and you've made magic happen, right? But we don't really know until we get on the racetrack and go have some races to see how it's all going to unfold, right? And yeah, on paper it looks like a great combination, but is it? Only time will tell. We hope so. I mean, everybody involved hopes we've all made the right decisions in making this, marriage happen. But at the same time, I feel like Cameron's style will suit the Ducati very, very well. At the same time, are superbikes easy to ride? No, there's no easy to ride superbike, period. You put that much horsepower onto a production motorcycle, they're difficult. They're always going to be difficult. It's interesting hearing Bulaga talk about his, recent jump from Superbike onto the MotoGP bike and hearing what those differences are and how you actually in some instances aren't riding the GP bike quite as hard as he was on his Superbike and different things. And you know, he even crashed out of one of the races in the sprint race on his first weekend, saying that like, yeah, I basically started riding it like a Superbike, and you know, and that's what, when your instincts take over, right, is you're going to fall back on what you're used to doing. So I don't think it's, there's no easy to ride Superbike, period. There just isn't. And any motorcycle you ride, if you're going to ride it to that level, right, to the absolute maximum of the motorcycle's potential, it could be a little mini bike. But if you're going to ride it to its potential, it's going to be hard to ride. It's hard to get away with things when you're right on the very edge of traction and control and everything else. So the results remain to be unseen, but I think that we have a good combination, sure. I mean, if we look back at 2020 with Cam on a different motorcycle, you know, he won what, 16 races that season or something like that, and did them all in pretty dominant fashion, but he still didn't win all of them. And that's one thing with road racing. You look at motocross and supercross, and we've seen guys that have had perfect seasons at that professional level, but if you look at road racing, I don't care if it's MotoAmerica, if it's, you know, World Superbike, MotoGP, when have we seen a perfect season in road racing? You don't. Even Marc Marquez, with as amazing as he was this year, he did not complete a perfect season. He definitely got beat. He definitely got injured. Like, there's too many things that come into play, I feel like, on the road race side to say a guy's going to win every single race. We haven't seen it yet.
Reminds me of something, Jake. I wasn't going to ask you this, but have you ever done a perfect lap?
Sure, all my laps are perfect. All my laps have always been perfect. I was a perfect racer, a perfect husband, a perfect father. Yeah, I'm perfect in every which way. No, I mean, yes, you're always looking for more. You always feel like as a racer, there's something you could have done a little bit better. You always feel like, you know, oh man, even though you come in from a lap, you always feel like, well, I messed up this one little thing. Yeah, I left a tenth there, or a half a tenth there, or something. And I think that's just the racer mentality, is that you're never going to arrive at that spot, right? Like you're never going to arrive at a spot where you've done everything absolutely perfect. Now, can you say that, could I say that there's been some laps here or there where it was like, yeah, it'd be hard to beat that one? Yeah, probably so. But at the same time, as a racer, you're always trying to achieve something more than what you already have.
Perfect answer. You have a kind of, to me, an unusual relationship as a manager. We'll talk about Cameron. You manage a lot of other riders, but I'm going to speak to you about Cameron. It's more than just you're kind of rider coaching him. You're mentally working with him. You're right there all the time. It's more to me. Is it more?
Yeah, my relationship with Cam's a little bit different. You know, as far as from the management side, you look at, I manage multiple riders, but Cam, we've had a close connection from the get-go, and not that I don't have a close connection with the other riders that I manage, but pretty early on there was some things that it just kind of worked out naturally, where I started helping Cam with some things or seeing certain things on the track, and, you know, offered some suggestions for him to help him with those things, and some of those things worked. I'd say a lot of them worked, but there's a couple things that didn't necessarily work out, or he'd come in and say, yeah, that didn't really change anything, or I didn't feel any different that way. So there's that side of it. So yes, I've coached or mentored or whatever you want to call it, Cam, for, you know, probably 10 years now, or 11 years now. And so it's been an ongoing process, and to the point where, I mean, I know what he's thinking. I can just look at him and know what's going on. Some of it's riding stuff, but not so much anymore. Like, that guy's, his form, his style, like his technique, it's all pretty flawless. There's not really a whole lot for me to do on that end of it. A lot more of it, I think, would go just from the mental side and just keeping him calm in the right timing and situations. But those are things you learn over time. Like, that's not something you can just pick up with a guy overnight.
Okay, last one for you. All right, when you raced, I saw you do some things that I was like, I don't even know how you did that. And I've always said that with Cameron. As a racer, rider, coach, being around Cameron, do you see him do things on the track that you don't know how he does it?
have I seen Cam do things on the track that I don't know how he does it? I don't know that I don't know that anything he does blows my mind. Like as far as like, that's impossible to do that. It's more that his execution and his ability to do those things time and time again in a repetitive nature is what really gets me. Like for a lot of riders, they can ride up to what I would call 100%, or they can toe that line where that line between crashing and not crashing. Whereas I feel like Cam has this ability he can't do it for a whole race, but he has this ability to dig really, really deep when he needs to. And he can usually pull off about 5 laps of this riding, in a way of his riding, where he is not at 100%. He is well beyond it, and he's well over the edge that most people can ride, because he has an ability and a talent to be able to get away with doing that time and time again and not put himself on the ground. And I think that's kind of what's always been a separating factor with him when I watch him ride and see him ride and the things that he does on a motorcycle. Like I said, it's just this ability to push beyond really what should be capable, but he can get away with it. And that's where I feel like a difference in his riding ability to others. A lot of guys can ride really good up to a certain point, but then once they try to push beyond that point, they'll usually end up on the ground, or things just don't work out, or they make mistakes and they, run off the track or get really wide. Whereas Cam, like when the money's on the line, like that guy's super, super solid. Like it's hard to bet against him when he needs to make something happen. He's usually able to make that happen.
Okay, I got one follow-up to that, because you gave me an idea. Your perspective on the save he had at Coda.
Cameron's save at Coda, like it's one of those things where obviously it was very well highlighted, right? The camera's in the perfect position, you can see what's going on. And two, because of the speed of that corner, it lasted for a long time. That front end push just kept going and going and going. Have I seen him do that same thing before? Sure, but usually it's very short and very quick, and with an untrained eye, you probably wouldn't see it. But that one was just so long that you really got to see it. Was I surprised he was able to save it, or no, not really. I mean, like I said, I've seen him do some pretty amazing things on a motorcycle that most other people would not get away with. And that's kind of that line that we're talking about, right? Like that line of, to me, the save was absolutely amazing. But to see what he did within the next lap was even more amazing. The fact that, like, you could see him, he throws his hand up and he's like, what in the world's going on? And within one more corner, like Bobby, got by him, and here's Bob, here's my chance to go. And within, like, I think it looked like he might have eased up for one corner. But by the time he got to the last turn and back onto the front straightaway, he was right back into race mode, right back into passing Bob and trying to put a gap right back into him. And that's, most riders at that point would have just chilled out and been like, hey, something's wrong with my bike, something's going on. Like I can't keep riding like that or that way or that pace. Like I really got to back it off to make sure that I can bring it home. And Cam knew that he needed to win that race, for the championship and for the points and everything else. And so he just went right back into race mode, get business mode. Like you watch that guy on a motorcycle and it's all business, right? Like he's got one goal in mind and one thing he needs to do. And he, like I said, more times than not, he's able to do it, so.
It's so good, Jake. Okay, one more. This is quick. When you woke up Sunday morning at New Jersey, 2 Superbike races, did you think he was going to win that championship?
His whole weekend at New Jersey was not so great, as has been documented. Friday, 2 crashes. Obviously, Cam doesn't usually crash a whole ton, so to have 2 crashes in back-to-back sessions on a Friday, not only did it, I think, ding his confidence, but also put them really behind setup-wise. I mean, they hadn't gone good there the year before. If you look at the results, they really struggled at that racetrack. So going into Saturday, he was already definitely on the back foot, definitely didn't have the pace he needed, and would go into that race and it's like, hey guys, like I just told him on Saturday, I said, look, you just need to go out there and get whatever points you can get. If that's first, that's awesome, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. If it's a second or a third, we have to take it. Even if it's a fifth, we have to score the points because there's still 75 points on the table. Like, it's still possible. Are we going to need a little help? Yeah, probably, but you just have to make sure you get through the day, right? Get through the day, get some information so that they can make the bike, they can set the bike better for Sunday. Like, that's all the focus needs to be. Like, get through the race, get the information, make sure you bring it home in one piece, and then we'll move on. And that's, you know, exactly what he did. And, you know, did some things fall into place for him on Sunday? Absolutely. Did he put himself in the position he needed to be? Absolutely, you know, and that's where he is really, really strong, is in those situations where, like I said, he's behind, he's on the back foot, but he just did what he absolutely had to do on that day. And, you know, it took him into Sunday still with a fighting chance. Did it look very good for him starting Sunday morning? No, not really, but, you know, it all worked out the way it worked out, and, you know, he brought home his 6th championship. So yeah, it was a roller coaster of a weekend, that's for sure.